Okay, for Form 4 biology students, so I have set quite a difficult questions, long question in homework for you. So I have to explain it because it's level 3. For question 24, question 24B, you have to understand the structure of our lung first. So the question, let me explain. Ask you, when we puncture, when we hurt the part Y, the point Y, then why our lung would collapse like this? That means it's shrink inward. Why our lung collapse? Okay, so first of all, you have to understand the lung structures, and we should go to page 9 of your textbook. Go to textbook, your page 9. So first of all, you have to understand the force experienced by the lung tissue. Okay, first of all, lung would recoil. Rebound. The recoil force. The force of recoil, that means lung tissue is an elastic tissue. The elastic lung tissue, it's like a rubber band. It's like a rubber band. You often pull it. You often pull it and make it like this. The lung may collapse inward automatically because it has an elasticity, pull inward. Okay, but then why our lung can keep such a large size? Why can our lung keep such a large size? So there's another force. So the other force, we call it the force, the pulling force. Pulling force by the rib cage and diaphragm, which is pointing outward. Okay. The pulling force is pointing outward. Therefore, in your pleural fluid, in your pleural cavity, it always experiences two forces. First of all, the inward force. Inward. Okay. Another one, the outward force. The outward pulling force. So these two forces oppose each other. So why do your lung keep expanding? The lung keep expanding because lung can be expanded due to the intact pleural cavity, intact pleural membrane. Okay. Due to this intact pleural membrane, when you have the pulling force pointing outward, the lung can still be enlarged. The lung can still be enlarged, like pull out. Okay, therefore you understand this. You understand this situation. When your pleural membrane is broken, so let's go to my model answer. Okay. My model answer is that it will tell you that air will leak into the pleural cavity. Air will leak into the pleural cavity. And so the negative pressure of pleural cavity cannot be maintained. That means those air will rush into this space. Rush into this space. Let me use the blue arrow. Rush into here. Okay, so the outward pulling force can no longer pull the lung to expand the lung. Okay, so eventually the lung collapses due to its own elasticity. So another question, next question I want to go through is page 25. On page 25, so they say there are some dust deposits on the surface of your air sac. What happens? Okay. Question 8. Please compare the oxygen and glucose content. Okay. So they have to, let me see the textbook. For blood A, they have missed some important information. Blood vessel A moves like this. And blood vessel B, inside the blood inside will move towards here. Okay, let me take a picture. So the blood is actually leaving the air sac. A, blood leaving the air sac. Okay, therefore it's a blood leaving the air sac, and then we call this deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood. Leaving the air sac. Okay. On the other hand, we call B. B is the deoxygenated blood entering the air sac. Okay. So to compare the oxygen content, you see A contains more oxygen because oxygen is taken up by blood through this diffusion in the air sac. On the other hand, I use green color. A contains less glucose than B, because the cells in air sacs take up some glucose for respiration. Okay, so this is 4 marks for you. Next one, you have to understand the structure of air sac first. So you can go to this page. What's it? This is page 12. Let me draw some diagram. So I assume you understand. Let me use a heart to represent the dust. Okay, use a heart to represent the dust. With this disease, we have lots of dust depositing on the surface of air sac. Okay, lots of dust. Therefore, the first point, it forms a barrier. On the right-hand side, it forms a barrier, increase the diffusion distance. What does it mean? It means that this kind of diffusion distance shown in the green arrow is lengthened. Yeah, to diffuse across a longer distance. Okay, diffuse across a longer distance. Second point, the inner surface of air sacs were covered by dust. So the area available for diffusion is reduced. There's less area for gas exchange. Okay, third point, the hardened layer of dust deposit. It can reduce the elasticity of the lung. That means when you have lots of hardened dust, so the lung become less elastic, so the lung cannot inflate to a great volume. Cannot be inflated to a great volume. Okay, if you have any question, you can ask me.